for my offensive stat to judge, like, who's a pretty good player or not, is runs created. It's really complicated, as you can see. So just try to remember the basics. That is on base times advancement, on bases divided by opportunity. The cool thing is that the original version only had 5% margin of error, so that means the modern version should have even less of a margin of error.
Marcus, I don't understand the rules of baseball. So you're going to have to walk me through what any of this.
Like on base is like how many times you get on base. And then advancing on base is how you like steal or going from first to third on a single, you know what I'm saying? Like running from first to second to third on a single. Because you have a lead, so for fast players they can do that. Yeah. And then maybe from like second to home on a single too. Stuff like that.
Sure.
Okay. So defensive run saved is a good defensive stat I like. The cool thing about it is that it considers trajectory, placement, and velocity of the ball. Errors just don't do that. The problem, what people complain about it though is that it has a small sample size. It only has a year's worth of data because that's just how people like to calculate defensive runs saved. It compares one player to the average player. So, like, let's say that a player gets a ball at a certain trajectory and a certain velocity at this little right here, right? It'll compare how every right fielder reacted to that ball in this area at that trajectory at that velocity that year. So that's the cool thing about that. So this is why runs are important. You might say, well, I can score 9 runs one day, and the other team can score 0, but the next day, let's say my starting pitcher's bad, and they score 3 runs, and I score 2. It's still a 1-1 record, yet I'm going to have a lot more runs than the other team. But baseball statisticians have created a formula that you can calculate win percentage just on runs, and I think that's pretty cool. So it's this formula right here. Even if you don't like baseball, you should like this formula just because this formula can calculate how many wins you can get in a basketball game or any other sport. Almost. You just have to change the exponent right there. So for baseball, it's 1 scored to 123 divided by 1 scored to 123 plus 1 allowed to 1.83. You just change that exponent. I don't think I would do you a good service of learning statistics, baseball statistics, if I don't talk about WAR as well. I don't use it, but because it's really, really complicated, but I think you should know of it. So the poster child of WAR is Mike Trout and Miguel Cabrera because they had a little fight. They didn't have a fight. Baseball writers had a fight about them, about who's the better person, because Mike Trout has a really high WAR, but Miguel Cabrera just has better stats if you consider the older stats like batting average, home runs, and RBIs. So one thing about WAR though is that there are 3 kinds, and that's why people don't like to use them because they vary. All right, so here's a little clip on FIP that I think is really helpful.
What is FIP? Well, FIP stands for Fielding Independent Pitching. It's a pitching statistic that's more effective than ERA at analyzing an individual pitcher's ability. Basically, fielders are not created equally. ERA does not count on earned runs against a pitcher, but it ignores differences in players' range. So ERA ends up measuring not just the pitcher, but also the infielders, the outfielders, the base runners, the umpires, the stadium, random luck, and even the scorer, whose job it is to decide the difference between an error and a hit. FIP only looks at strikeouts, walks, home runs, and hit by pitches. So FIP tracks the skill of the pitcher and a little bit of the umpire, the stadium, and luck. As a result, FIP is a much better indicator of a pitcher's talent and better predicts future performances. So the next time someone tells you,
"That guy is great. His ERA is super low this year,"
feel free to agree with him. Yes, he is a good pitcher, a good infielder, a good outfielder, a good catcher, a good umpire, a good stadium, and a good luck dragon.
and then punch him in the face.
So takes into account too much about your defense. So FIP is this way. It's just you, not your defense behind you. That's why I like FIP better than ERA. Also, there's this cool little thing that so batting average of balls in play, they've actually determined that that's mainly luck, which I think is crazy, because you would think that the luck would even out after 162 games, even if you only pitched a fifth of those games and you only pitched 7 innings, but it doesn't. And you would think that's a good enough sample size, but it's just not. So I think that's pretty cool. All right, so now let's just meander at which country creates the best players per that country's capita. So I want you guys to pretend
Venezuela.
that this is like the map of the United States. Not the United States, the world. So, let's see. I'm trying to think of the world now. What would be here? Asia's there. Alaska's there. Chile and Peru's here. And Australia would be there. So just go across the world and find your country. I'll play this little clip to give you a hint about which country it's not.
Hello, Ramblers fans. It's NY versus another team to be
Get up
confirmed.
and go to
And
the
the Dutch
country.
make sure everything's ready. Here we go.
So they're in South America right now.
Smack me! Wowzers in me trousers! It's a home run! What a start! 1-0 Boston. They're playing Boston. They're playing Boston. He runs into the bowl. Morgan Mindy, that's going for 6! No! Caught by the chap in the pyjamas.
If you guys don't think it's funny, I'll just stop the video.
And they all scuttle off for a nap. Now, New York bowling. Slams it into the floor. Is that allowed? Lobs it to his friend. Not out, says the FBI agent who has the best view of all. Salamander gone for a duck. Who have we here? Crikey O'Blimey, it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt, the star of Third Rock from the Sun. What is this, a pro-am tournament? The bowler prepares. And he's thrown it the wrong way. Confusion. The power of Gordon-Levitt. Snap out of your trance, man. That's better. And good shot, sir. Flicks it to the man at mid-wicket. Throw comes in. FBI agent signals a wide. Good for him. Just happy to be involved. And there's a plastic bag on the pitch. Wow! It's like the scene in American Beauty. Try and get it in the bag, son. You'll get 5 points. Oh, he's having a go. Dylan Thomas's boat. Owls caught by the half-man, half-robot wicket-keeper. What a shame. Well done, Salamander. Didn't go in the bag. And Gordon-Levitt is back at the stumps. He takes his guard. Middle leg, I believe. Bowler bowls. Crackerjack. Cream to mid-off. And those lads are going to collide. No, they didn't. Thank goodness for that. And everyone runs around in a circle to the next post. And, oh, nice pat on the bum there. Good shot, Joseph. Didn't get any points for it, but well done for trying. Mother Hubbard, look at all those sailors. They love baseball, the sailors. And at the end of the game, Red Sox 47 for no wickets, Yankees 24 for no wickets. Bowlers, back to you.
So obviously, Britain doesn't create a lot of baseball players. They're around this country. So anybody want to volunteer their answer?
Oh.
You guys just choose South America. I don't know which country. The Dominican Republic. That you're actually right. Any reason why you chose the Dominican Republic?
Well, because I watched like the whole thing on it, and like on the History Channel or something. I don't know, not the History Channel. I don't know, but I watched something on it.
Yeah. So they create the most baseball players per capita. Or this is the All Stars, and then this would be the baseball player list. Yeah, they just create the most baseball players per capita. I chose capita. I chose population instead of births because I don't know births. But births favor the developed countries because the underdeveloped countries will have a higher child mortality rate. So I don't know. But you could also say that then it favors the underdeveloped countries because then the developed countries will have more people that can't play baseball but survive, in life and be counted in the population. But I don't know. I just like to favor the developing countries rather than the developed. So why the Dominican Republic makes All-Stars? It's because MLB invests in them. They have a pretty good baseball infrastructure. so they send a lot of scouts there, and they have a lot of money there. Like baseball sends a lot of money there, and also there's not a high financial mobility in the Dominican Republic. So even if you go to school, you have to go, you have to study hard, and you might not even do so well in life still. So that's why a lot of them don't even go to school. And if you don't go to school, you have more time to play baseball, you have more time to get better at baseball. And so, yeah. It's also their game, too. We like football, they like baseball. They're also cheaper labor. Would you rather buy 5 lotto tickets in the Dominican Republic, or would you rather buy 1 lotto ticket in America for the same price and the same deck? So, yeah, most people would prefer the 5 Dominicans. Also, MLB once again spends a lot of money there. Haiti, which is right next door, you see that green? They don't even have they don't even have a Major League Baseball player on an active roster in Haiti, and it's because America just sends a lot of scouts and they build a lot of academies in the Dominican Republic, but not Haiti. So Laurel probably got mad that I said America's sport is football, not baseball. So here's all the
And
statistics.
Dominican Republic is probably soccer.
This is all the statistics supporting the argument that America's sport is football, not baseball. So I also wanted to study trend lines as well, because I wanted to study like how baseball players have changed, or how scouting has really changed. When the color barrier was broken, a lot of African American players started playing baseball, and a lot of them were from the South, so the South experienced a rise in creating baseball players, but that number has dropped for reasons that are debatable, and it's a pretty good debate about why there aren't a lot of African American players anymore, but I won't go into it because I don't have time, but you should really look into it, it's pretty cool. The rise, though, is in Latin American players. They make now basically about a quarter of all major leaguers, and that's a pretty high number. And I think we should expect more Latin American players in the future. Even though it looks like it may have plateaued, I don't think it has, though. Alright, so I decided to pick just players, the best players, just to see where they come from. So I chose Matt Harvey from the NL, because he has the lowest FIP in the NL. Anibal Sanchez and Felix Hernandez from the AL, because they have low FIPs for the AL. If you're wondering why I had to choose one from the American League and the National League, is because the American League, they have a designated hitter, which means that they basically have an extra hitter they have to face, whereas the NL doesn't. For catcher, I chose Yadier Molina. Buster Posey does come close, though. He is 3 runs behind the catcher. I use the combination of runs created plus defensive runs saved. So, yeah. For first base, I chose Paul Goldschmidt. He does strike out a lot, but his runs created plus defensive runs saved is still higher than any other first baseman. Around 5 or 4 runs, with Joey Bottom coming in second. Second base, I chose Robinson Cano. He is only actually 1 run better than Matt Carpenter using that formula. Then third base is for Miggy Cabrera. He is 4 runs better than the Oakland A's Josh Donaldson. This guy is actually pretty much an unknown player, but he's Andrelton Simmons. I chose him just because he's a pretty good defensive player. Even if you add offense, like Troy Tulo is still behind him, and I don't know. I just think that he's just undervalued because his defense is amazing. Yeah, he's the only non-all-star out of the selection, though. Just want to put that out there. Outfielders. So Mike Trout in left, Cargill in center, Andrew McCutchen in right. Just because I sorted them by defense, so which field they would play. Cargill is just a superior defensive player. Alright, so this would be where they came from. So there's 5 Americans, 3 Venezuelans, 2 Dominican Republicans, or Dominicanos. I think that's the right term. And then 1 from the Netherlands, so he'd be a Dutchman. Right? Yeah. So obviously the majority is from America. so let's study America now. So let's do the same thing. Okay, so don't forget Alaska, Guam, and Hawaii, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and Washington, D.C. Those are U.S. jurisdictions, which travel around America and decide which state or U.S. jurisdiction creates the most baseball players per capita.
Can we just say stuff?
Okay, just give me a state then, or your jurisdiction. Why, maybe? Georgia? Yeah, Georgia makes a lot of baseball players. They actually don't make the most per capita though. You can flip your page now to the back and you'll see the rankings. So I did, because US is a developed country, I could have done it by birth, but I wanted to be consistent, so I still did it by players divided by the US the population of that land in 1990. So those are the answers.
That's a trick question because those aren't little states, Washington D.C. and
Yeah, but they are US jurisdictions. So why does DC make so many players? It's really their culture. A lot of the players actually aren't born and raised in DC. And DC is like a passing town. You know, you go there, you lobby, you politic. You know, you just, and then people that politic and lobby usually tend to be richer. So you know when they go there, they give birth to a son, then they move out, and then they have a lot more money to spend on their son to make him a baseball player. If you actually lower it to the players that were born and raised in DC, it'd be only 3, and that would make them 29th as the best baseball producing U.S. jurisdiction. But I must mention St. Albans because they're a pretty good baseball high school. It's where Al Gore went, so you can tell it's pretty preppy. Yeah, none of their players actually are on an active roster yet, though. But they're an up-and-coming school. So the big factors you want to include is weather, culture, where the scouts are, and if there is a local professional sports team. You want it to be hot year-round. So Florida, which doesn't like winter, while everyone else is in winter, they would create baseball players if you look on the list. It's also culture though, because Florida and Texas, they tend to be football states, whereas Georgia is a baseball state. So you'll see a lot of Georgian baseball players. And it also depends on where the scouts are. Bill James said the Great Lakes were under-scouted. I hope that they are better scouted now. And if MLB doesn't choose to invest in you, you won't get to play. It's just the way it is. And you also want to have idols nearby, like as in like role models. So Mobile, Alabama has seen a decrease in professional sports players because the Negro Leagues were disbanded, and so there wasn't a local professional sports team. But now there is a minor league team there, so maybe there'll be a rise in players from Mobile, Alabama. So this is it. Any questions, comments, and concerns as I close out this presentation? He's the best closer of all time, so that's why I chose this place. But I'll fill this up with questions, comments, and concerns.
Actually, yeah, we need to wrap up.
Everybody
Everybody can mark your hand. Thank you, Marcus.